Mr. Speaker, Senator Morgan is heckling.
Senator Eddy. Senator Mogeni, what is your intervention? You seem not to be settled. What is your intervention?
Yes.
Have a seat, Senator Eddy.
My neighbor, Senator of Migori, should know there is some language which is unparliamentary, including using the word heckling. Now, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to inform Senator Halwale that he should not mislead the country by making reference to the Senator of Mombasa 001 as being one of the lawyers who have been inducted into the role of senior counsel. For the record, Senator Halwale, Senator of Mombasa 001, has not been inducted to the role of senior counsel. So you are out of order by referring him to senior counsel Mohamed Faki.
Senator Eddy, proceed to conclude.
Chair, I hadn't even started yet, so I'm just starting.
Proceed.
Chair, I wanted to make a quick comment on a very important issue that Senator Onyonka has raised in this House through this statement on a possibility of auditing all our minerals and being able to account for all those minerals plus those companies that are involved in them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think this is a very, very serious statement that as a country we must start thinking very critically about the minerals that we have and how we explore them. Because in the current world order, Mr. Speaker, you cannot think about any better opportunity that you can have as a country than any rare minerals that you have in the country to the extent that you can invest in them, Mr. Speaker. I want just to give example, Mr. Speaker, that the current world order, you cannot think about areas of investment without thinking about what raw materials go into renewable energy. And because of the competition in the world in the area of technology, any smart technology for any smart electronic devices, Mr. Speaker, you cannot have them without thinking about raw materials that are coming out of this country. And Mr. Speaker, there is something called rare earth elements, which if you look at the demand of rare earth elements in the world, Mr. Speaker, at the pace of growth, by 2027, rare earth elements will have a 14% demand. Now, rare earth oxide alone, if you look at China, China has got about 85% control over rare earth oxide. And in this country, Mr. Speaker, our potential for rare earth elements is up to, in fact, over $100 billion. And Mr. Speaker, when you look at our current foreign policy, there is no articulation of even exploration of rare earth minerals in Kenya when we are engaging with the world superpower in terms of technological advancement like the United States. You would have expected that if we are going to the United States, we have got accounts of these rare earth elements and the minerals that are ensuing from them, like in a county in Kwale, Mr. Speaker, where we have got amazing rare earth elements that have been estimated by experts that could be able to fetch this country even $35 billion, Mr. Speaker. And our debt that we are struggling with in the country today, Mr. Speaker, is barely $100 billion. If you have got rare earth elements in this country that can be able to, if we invest in them, they can be able to give us even up to $100 billion, Mr. Speaker. It will be very, very important that in this new broad-based government that we have, we start thinking critically about data-driven mining, data-driven decision-making in the mining sector, so that we see whether we can be able to explore our minerals to be able to deal with the issue of critical debt stock that we have in this country. Therefore, I want to support this statement and particularly draw the attention of this committee to look at the potential of Kenyan economy with regards to rare earth minerals that we can be able to explore and go ahead and even indicate how much money we need to inject in that sector and the potential revenues in terms of investments vis-a-vis returns of those investments that we can be able to make. Because as somebody who has looked at in this issue, Mr. Speaker, I am sure if you pumped 1.5 billion into the rare earth minerals in this country, you can make up to 30 billion at any given time. That means that every annual turnover on these issues, we can be able to actually even make money that can be able to guarantee us returns that can deal with debt. So I support this statement, and I hope that the relevant committee will look at it.
Senator Mungatana.
Bwana Spika, ningependa kuchukua nafasi hii kukushukuru kwa kunipa nafasi pia na mimi nichangie maoni yangu kuhusu hoja ambayo imeletwa hapa na seneta wa Meru. Bwana Spika, Judicial Service Commission ni kati ya zile jopo ambazo zinaweza kuangalia makosa yoyote ambao mahakimu na majaji wanafanya katika kutoa zile hukumu zao. Kwa hivyo ningependelea pia kamati hiyo ya JLAC waangalie kama wanaweza kupeleka malalamishi kirasmi kwa Judicial Service Commission kuhusu hukumu ya huyu judge ambaye amesema kwamba kazi ambayo Senate ingefaa ifanye ipelekwe kwa Njuri Chenke. Pia Bwana Spika, kuna hili jambo la kwamba jaji wa mahakama kuu ya Kenya anasahau ya kwamba yule aliyechaguliwa pale ambaye ni governor wa Meru amechaguliwa na watu wote wanaoishi pale Meru. Mimi najua kuna Wapokomo, kuna Waorma wanaoishi pale Meru, kuna Wagiriama, manake Meru ukiwa unashuka hivi wanatuletea miraa sehemu ya huku kwetu. Na kuna watu ambao wanaenda kufanya biashara kule na wamechukua kadi zao za kura kule. Kwa hivyo ikiwa kwamba kuna makosa ama kuna issue yoyote ya kutatuliwa, kwa nini judge anafikiria watu wote, wapiga kura wote wa Meru ati ni wa Meru, kwa hivyo wanaenda kwa Njuri Chenke? Kuna wapiga kura pale ambao ni wa makabila tofauti. Hata Wakisii wako pale, si ndio? Hata Wakikuyu wako pale, ambao ingekuwa ni makosa sana kwa jaji mzima kusema hawa watu wote hawa waende kwa Njuri Chenke ambayo ni ya kabila moja. Kwa hivyo tunataka Judicial Service Commission iseme kitu, na tunaomba kamati hii yetu ya JLAC pia ifikirie namna ambayo tutafanya malalamishi kirasmi kwa Judicial Service Commission kuhusu hukumu hii ambayo inapotosha watu wa Kenya na inahujumu mamlaka ya bunge la Senate. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator Joe Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I also rise to support this statement by the Senator for Meru, who doubles up as the Deputy Speaker of this particular House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this ruling by this particular judge was very disappointing. Why? Because when the County Assembly members of Meru decided that they wanted to impeach Governor Kawira once again, they knew very well that there was Njuri Chenke in Meru. Kawira herself, the governor, also knew very well that there was Njuri Chenke in Meru in place. And she chose to take the matter, or whoever took the matter to court knew very well that there was this particular council, Mr. Speaker. And so I think the judge was out of order because you cannot refer. Mr. Speaker, I can liken it to somebody who has gone to a chief, who knows there is a chief, but goes to a DO. Then the DO tells them, go back to the chief. Mr. Speaker, this particular judge abdicated his responsibility. Mr. Speaker, when Governor Kawira was brought here for the last time on impeachment charges, she actually used Njuri Chenke as her defense. And in that defense, Governor Kawira convinced this Senate that actually her impeachment had been engineered by MCAs through during Cheke. So, Mr. Speaker, we cannot then, this judge could not then have, was actually again out of order to have referred the matter to during Cheke, which Governor Kawira already had submitted before this honorable house that it was behind her impeachment last time. And so, Mr. Speaker, this is a judge, for lack of a better word, that is irresponsible, and a judge that abdicates his responsibility. And even without discussing his conduct here, a committee, the JSC should do something about this judge, and the jailer committee in this house, Mr. Speaker, should also pursue this matter, and if possible, see whether these...
Sorry, Senator Kongo Mugeni, what is your point of order?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the magnanimity of the issue at hand. But, Mr. Speaker, we also have to be guided by our standing order, especially standing order number 1, which prohibits us from discussing the conduct of the judge. What we should be doing is to critique the content 101. Okay. What we should be doing, Mr. Speaker, sir, is to discuss the content of the ruling, but not to bring into discussion the personal character of a judge. That is prohibited by standing order number 101, which obligates us to bring a substantive motion with 3 days' notice. But it's permissible, Mr. Speaker, to discuss how it is inappropriate for that judge to issue a ruling that directs that matter to jury check. That is within our realm. To critique the decision, but not the person who made the decision, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I think Senior Counsel Omogeni was either not listening to my submission or is directly malicious against me, Mr. Speaker, because I never discussed the conduct of the judge, Mr. Speaker. I discussed the ruling, and I said this judge abdicated his responsibility by referring a matter to a council of elders whom the governor knew existed but did not refer the matter to him. And Mr. Speaker, I also said, and I beseech my senior Senator Kongo Mugeni to be more keen next time. I also said that Governor Kawira used this actually in her defense. She submitted before this honorable house that during Cheke was against her and is the one that had schemed her impeachment, Mr. Speaker. And so I said it was wrong to refer the matter, and I want to believe that Governor Kawira took it to court, refer her to a body that she believes is very hostile to her. And that is...
Honorable Senators, I can see the time that was allocated is over now. But let's last, but no, at least two more. One from this end, Senator Mandago. No, I'm winding up these things so that we can move on to the other one. Yeah, me also.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, first I rise in support of the decision of the judge, Honorable Speaker. And allow me to be the devil's advocate, Honorable Speaker, because the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act 2021, which I believe was passed by Parliament, Honorable Speaker, in Section 4, Honorable Speaker, the Act shall apply to civil disputes, including a dispute to which the national government, a county government, or a state organ is a party to. Honorable Speaker, it has been argued that Meru County is not a county for Merus only. But if you look at the definition of the people that are involved, Honorable Speaker, it says a community means a social unit or groups brought together by different types of affinities, such as culture, dialect, race, family, neighborhood, faith, business, age, and common interest. The common interest in this matter, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of governance of Meru, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, if we look at Article 159, 2C, alternative forms of dispute resolution include reconciliation, mediation, arbitration, and a traditional dispute resolution mechanism shall be promoted subject to Clause 3. Honorable Speaker, if you follow all the way in that act, it says the parties may terminate the ADR mechanisms at any point of their choice. Honorable Speaker, therefore, the county government of Meru, the Honorable MCS, can at any point decide they are not interested in the alternative dispute resolution mechanism and they can go back to court. The reason we established ADRs was actually to try and reduce the workload, the unnecessary workload we have in our courts on matters that can be sorted out of court through a process that this Honorable House and Parliament legislated and passed the law, Honorable Speaker.
So
I don't want to be informed by Senator Wambua, a person who refused to become the Attorney General of this country. If you cannot be one, you cannot purport to even imagine, you can inform me, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I therefore want to agree with the judge.
Senator Wambua. Yes, proceed.
I want to agree with the judge in Meru.
That's a minute, Senator Mandago.
Mr. Speaker, I am very surprised that a man of the character of a senator for Uasin Gishu, who is dealing with his own issues, whichever issue that he's dealing with, can stand on the floor of the Senate and connect me with a nomination for the office of the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, I am not a lawyer. It is the same mistakes that they made when they made the first appointment of the AG by not consulting properly. Mr. Speaker, I want the senator for Uasin Gishu to withdraw any connection between the senator of Kitui and the office of the Attorney General before or then, unless then he wants us to follow that route, Mr. Speaker.
Under which is standing order, Senator Wambua? Because you are a seasoned member. Yes. Senator Wambua knows exactly what he
Mr. Speaker, standing order 105.
Yes.
A senator must be responsible for the facts that he alleges on the floor of the Senate.
Yes, Senator Mandago.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to withdraw and apologize, but clarify that as a principal advisor of party leader of Wiper, who is a lawyer, who was given the offer, Honorable Speaker, I withdraw and apologize. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to comment on two of the statements, one by Onyonga. Honorable Speaker, there are some entities, there are some companies that have been given licenses to explore minerals, but some have gone ahead and done mining, but they continue reporting that they are exploring. These are the companies that we need to call out so that they can apply for the next license to mine, so that our communities can get the right income, Honorable Speaker, from these particular companies when they export the minerals, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my last comment is on your statement as the Deputy Speaker on Meru, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, for the last 2 years, you know your county, your people have not received adequate representation, especially in terms of delivery of services, Honorable Speaker, because of the county assembly and the governor have not had good working relationship, Honorable Speaker. That's why in under 2 years, we've had like 2 or 3, 4 impeachments, Honorable Speaker. So when I heard the the church in Meru, referring the matter to ADR. I thought this was court sent for these particular two warring groups, Honorable Speaker, to sit down and agree to work for the people of Meru. If they cannot sit down and work for the people of Meru, Honorable Speaker, I agree with what my colleagues, Gloria, that maybe it is time that we come up with a petition to dissolve this particular county. Let all the MCAs and the governor and the deputy governor go home so that basically you can go back for fresh elections. In Meru, we get a new governor, new deputy, and new MCAs, Honorable Speaker, so that things can work for the people of Meru. You can also decide to resign Speaker and run for you can run for the position, Honorable Speaker. But I believe the fake fertilizer will not run for that particular issue, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, that is my take. During Cheke are respected. I don't know why they've run away from adjudicating, from reconciling these particular people. That's it.
Thank you, Senator Kisang. Senator Kongo Mogeni.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Mogeni.
Hello? Yeah, Mr. Speaker, you know, we should not hit the judge so hard. You know, this constitution created an article called Article 159 on alternative forms of dispute resolution. And I want to inform senators here that even people who have committed murder have been referred to mediation, reconciliation, arbitration. So you cannot attack the ruling that was delivered by the judge because he was invoking an article that is in the Constitution. And you know, senators, you should read. Article 159 speaks of judicial authority, the power that is donated to the judge to give ruling and directions. But Speaker, I want to thank the injury check because I think injury check have seen the light. I read that they have applied to withdraw from the proceedings. And they want to allow that matter to run the full course. You know, and under Article 181, it's us, senators, who gave powers to our MCAs to initiate an impeachment. So now that the injury check, and I want to thank them because that's why we're here to deal with issues of impeachment. Now that injury check have seen the light, they have allowed this motion to run its full course. Let it be processed by the members of Meru County Assemblies. Let it come to the Senate. Can you see the Senate of Nyandarua? He's salivating. Let it be processed, Mr. Speaker. It comes here, and we deal with justice. You know, Mr. Speaker, we must respond to the issues that are being raised by the MCAs and the residents of Meru. So let the judge, now that injury check have applied to allow that matter run its course, let the judge allow it to be processed, come to the Senate, and we do what we are supposed to do. Mr. Speaker, nobody should fear the senators of the Republic of Kenya, including Governor Kawira. If I was her, I will not even bother to go to court. If she is clean, let the matter come here. We deal with it. If she is clean, she's acquitted. If on the other hand, she has committed issues that make it undesirable for her to continue holding that office, then again she should fall on the doors of justice. So there is nothing to fear. Both ways, there will be justice. If she is innocent, an acquittal. If she is guilty, she should go home. That's why we have accountability, Mr. Speaker, in our Constitution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chute, you know I cannot see your request on my screen. I don't know if there is.
Thank you very much.
He has a constitutional matter that is raising.
Thank you very much.
I cannot see his request. And that's the last one, then we proceed with the other business.
Thank you very much. I wanted to add my voice on the issue of Meru. Honorable Speaker, my friend Senator Mandago quoted an article which he read halfway. And this is 159. If you look at 159C, alternative forms of dispute resolution, including reconciliation, mediation, arbitration, traditional dispute resolution mechanism shall be promoted subject to clause 3. And clause 3, Honorable Speaker, says traditional dispute resolution mechanism shall not be used in a way that A, contravenes the Bill of Rights, B, is repugnant to justice and morality, or results in outcomes that are repugnant to justice or morality, or C, is inconsistent with this Constitution or any other written law. Honorable Speaker, Article 181 is very clear. It tells us how to remove a governor from the office and the deputy governor also. Honorable Speaker, I'll give you an example of Marsabit. We don't have Njuruncheke in Marsabit. What will happen if the members of the National Assembly want to impeach the governor? Are they going to ask for Meru Njuruncheke to come and help us there? No, it is not possible. Again, Honorable Speaker, if the issue being raised by itself has some criminality issue, wastage of funds, resources, misappropriation of money, yes, it goes against Article 6. So, Honorable Speaker, I really thank the Njuruncheke for referring back that issue to the courts. And we are waiting for Governor Kawira Mwangaz here before the Senate. We are ready and waiting for her to come here. Honorable Speaker, finally, I think it is very important for us to look at the law. This Constitution, 2010, is one of the best constitutions that any person can have, especially in African countries. Let us not ignore this Constitution and follow traditional ways to solve some official issues. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Senators. Now we proceed with the business of the day, and standing under 45.2, I wish to reorganize the business of the House this afternoon. So we move to standing on, we go to order number 21. Then after we execute that, we'll go to the normal system. So, clerk, read the order number 21.
Order number 21, the Land Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 40 of 2022. Second reading.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the Land Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 40 of 2022, be now read a second time. Mr. Speaker, this is an extremely important matter, despite the fact that it's one of the shortest bills that I've ever introduced in this House. But it serves an interesting purpose, Mr. Speaker, where we are seeking, Mr. Speaker, to secure public land for public institutions and ensuring that after such is done, Mr. Speaker, we provide the legal mechanism for the titling of such land. As it is today, Mr. Speaker, many public institutions actually continue to lose land that has been set aside for them on account of vague provisions of the law on the titling process of such parcels of land. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, hence the Land Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 40 of 2024, which was published in the Kenya Gazette Supplement number 165 of 2022 on the 28th day of October in the same year. This bill was considered and passed by the National Assembly, after which they referred it to us for consideration. And I've explained, Mr. Speaker, that the principal object of this bill is to amend Land Act number 6 of 2012 in order to provide where public land has been allocated to a public body or a public institution by the NLC for a public purpose, or where the land set aside by persons or even a land buying company
for public purpose, the Register of Land under the Land Registration Act of 2012 will issue the certificate of title in the name of public body, public institution, or the relevant ministry, as the case may be. So, Mr. Speaker, the key word or operating principle in this bill is public. Public land, public institution, and for a public purpose, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, it is a sacred move, if I may call it so, Mr. Speaker, because we all know of public institutions that up to date continue to lose land on account of either poor titling or the lack actually of legislative intervention on our part, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that after a donation has been made, Mr. Speaker, or even an allocation or setting aside of a public piece of land, Mr. Speaker, to a public institution, it is titled in the name of that institution. Mr. Speaker, Kenyans' obsession with land is legendary. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, there is need actually to ensure that our public institutions have their land firmly secured by ensuring that the title is registered in their name every time that land has been set aside. You know for a fact, for example, Mr. Speaker, that in many of the urban spaces here in Nairobi, there were public pieces of land that were set aside either for playground or social amenities, Mr. Speaker, but today cannot be traced. In fact, 70 to 80%, my own honest estimation, I have no strong data to back that up, but just based on my common knowledge of this city, Mr. Speaker, that land today you cannot trace it to the public purpose for which it was meant or for which it was allocated to. For the simple reason, Mr. Speaker, that we didn't have this provision to ensure that we title those lands in the name of the public institution or entity, Mr. Speaker. And that provided ripe environment, Mr. Speaker, for marauding public land fraudsters, Mr. Speaker, to quickly change the provisions of, or the title, Mr. Speaker, of that particular land and own it, or even do developments that are otherwise not public or not meant for public good. We have many examples, Mr. Speaker. In the last Parliament, Mr. Speaker, and I think I have seen even a petition before this House, we had petitions from, say, Nairobi Water Services Company, where staff houses belonging to that institution, Mr. Speaker, a contractor showed up on site with a group of young men, as is normally the case. They demolished the houses in the dead of the no time, Mr. Speaker. They put up high-rise apartments. And years later, up to now, Mr. Speaker, because, and it's part of what we were discussing a few minutes ago, that sometimes our judges also choose to be mechanical. All they ask of that public institution is, where is the title? The council meeting that provided the setting aside of that parcel of land, Mr. Speaker, for public use. Many times, Mr. Speaker, in the absence of a title deed, public institutions have lost land to fraudsters, Mr. Speaker. And that is what we are seeking to address in this particular bill. As it is presently, Mr. Speaker, public land and land set aside for public purposes by land buying companies continue to be grabbed by private persons, primarily because there exist no certificates of title issued in respect of that land. And I've explained that particular bit. Therefore, this bill, Mr. Speaker, seeks to provide for the registration of public land. You know the issues around even our primary schools, Mr. Speaker, especially in areas where land is of high value. Urban towns like Nairobi here and many other cities, Mr. Speaker, public institutions actually continue to lose land on account of the lack of legal provision. Of legal certificates, Mr. Speaker, to these public institutions will be crucial towards curbing unauthorized land grabbing, illegal occupation. Occupation is a big issue, Mr. Speaker. You remember, I think late last year, or was it early this year, there was the issue around Mavoko and Athi River, where many of those public land, East African Portland Cement and NSSF, Mr. Speaker,